We're here for our annual Position Players preview, here with Associate Head Coach Jeff Hourigan entering his 12th season with the Huskies. For those of you that haven't watched in the years prior, basically just bouncing around position to position, getting you all the information on all the position players that we have here for the 2023 season. All right, Jeff, let's start with the catchers. Obviously, you lose a big-time guy in Matt Donlin, but three really good guys that you have, a couple of them that have played with Matt Garbowski and Ryan Hyde.
Yeah, Jones, first off, excited to do this again, another season.
People are ready for it. They're antsy.
It's great. That's great. That's what we want. We have a great following, and hopefully we can have another great year. But from the catching standpoint, losing Matt Donlin, who's a phenomenal player, a leader, that's always tough to replace. But the good thing about that is Matt Garbowski and Ryan Hyde had a year under Matt Donlin, just seeing how he went about his business, see how he commanded a pitching staff, just see how he led a team. So I think we're in a really good place right there. With Garbo, had an injury, prone season right there. It was really tough for him. I know it was frustrating, but I think he's in a really good place. He's worked really hard on his body, and he shows you. He hit at a 294 clip as a freshman, and 50-something at bats, but he's a very accomplished, a poised hitter, so I think he'll provide a steadiness to our lineup. And then defensively, his arm is strong again. He has a very strong arm. He's a very good receiver. And then just watching Matt kind of do things behind the dish, just communicate with pitchers, I think Garbo continues to grow in that area. Ryan Hyde is a guy that's been with us for a while now, and he's a leader. He commands that presence. I think pitchers love throwing to him because he's going to give you feedback, and he's a true competitor. And he's made himself into a very good player. And I'd probably say offensively is where he's made a lot of gains. I always see him in the cages working on his craft, and he had a really nice summer for Norwich, where I think he hit over 300, carried it over into the fall, and carried it over into the winter workouts as well. So, you got two guys that have college experience, played under a really good catcher, that I think that's going to really benefit us. And then we have a freshman in Levi McAllister, who's what you would say a freshman. There's days where he's going to make mistakes, but then there's days where he makes some great plays. Just on Sunday, there was 2 dirt balls that he blocked beautifully, and guys got a good jump, and he scrambled quickly and threw some guys out. And then he'll have some of those plays where the game speeds up on him. And then offensively, he had a nice finish to the winter time where he started to slow the game down. He had a nice 2 RBI single. So I think there's a really nice rapport with our catchers. They love working. Coach Penders obviously does a great job with catchers, and I think we're in a really nice position there.
Slide over to the infield. You've got 3 returners. Ben Huber played essentially every inning at first base, David Smith at second base, and Brian Padilla at short. Just tell me a little bit about those guys and how they're going to try and make that next jump.
Yeah, well, it's very comforting to know that we have those returners back. I mean, a lot of experience, and they were impact players for us last year. We'll start with Ben Huber over at first base. He might be one of the most, imposing, hitters that I've ever had in that batter's box. I mean, you look at the 6'3", 250-pound, all muscle frame, and that's going to intimidate a lot of pitchers. There's a lot of 4-pitch walks sometimes to a guy that looks that big in the box. And Ben's a good hitter. Hit right around 330 for us. Had power, hit 11 home runs. But more importantly, he drove in guys. And we're going to expect that from Ben this year, and then some. I really think Ben is a very talented player that works really hard at it. And those numbers this year, they can go up, and the power threat is always going to be there. So he's going to be a very, very good player for us in our lineup. And then base running wise, I think he also scored the most runs.
69 runs, the team.
Yeah, he's savvy. I mean, he gets dirt ball reads. He can go first to third. He can do all those things that keeps an offense moving. So, and then at first base, I mean, he's like a vacuum. He gobbles things up. If you make a bad throw, he can pick it. You make a high throw, he's athletic. He can jump and get it. So I think that's very nice for infielders to have. David Smith, I mean, he might be one of the most dynamic players, in the country. Switch hitting, second baseman, that from a defensive standpoint, he just got better and better as the year went on last year. And Coach Des does a phenomenal job with those guys, and Smitty really took pride in his defense. Ton of range because he's a super athlete, but he also has a very strong arm. So if he gets that ball up the middle, he can throw a guy out. And then just being a pure leader on the field, I think he provides that, being our team captain. Offensively, again, just super dynamic. It's really tough to pitch against a guy like that who can lay down a bunt, who can just put a ball in play with 2 strikes, or if you make a mistake, he can hit it out of the yard from both sides of the plate. And then if he does get on base, he can steal he can steal second, he can steal third. So he's going to be our catalyst, and it's going to be a nice weapon to have. And I'm looking for big things from Smitty as well. Brian Padilla, as a freshman last year, he did an unbelievable job. Playing shortstop at any level is not easy. There's a lot of responsibility that comes with a shortstop, and you're kind of that captain along with the catcher on the field, and you got to make a lot of decisions. And Brian is getting more and more comfortable with doing that. And again, he works really hard with Coach Des, and Coach Des will be on him all the time when we're going through our inner squads. And Brian really embraces being coached. And I expect big things. He's got great range. His body looks great. He works really hard with our training staff, with Coach DeMarco, Katie Dan. He's taking a lot of pride in keeping his body ready to go, and it's really showing out there. And then offensively, you saw it last year in spurts. He's really tough to get out, and he's going to give you a good competitive at bat. If he's not going well, he's still going to fight balls off. He's going to work his walks. When he is going well, he's very dangerous. I think he had 9 home runs for us last year, and I expect him to continue to become more consistent with his at-bats this year.
Obviously, third base is one that you need to fill. It's been exciting to watch. Dominic Freeberger, who comes from UNC Asheville, and then an old Husky who just won a national championship, Luke Broadhurst as well, who's been excited to see where he has come from when he was here as a freshman to where he's at right now.
Right, yeah, it's we have a good problem. We have some really good players, and there's a lot of depth right there, and we're very confident in these players. Just to talk about Dom, Dom's your traditional baseball player. I mean, he can literally do anything on the field, and not only do anything on the field, he can do it really well. You could put him at third base, which seems to be the position that he's kind of grasped. But if we had to put him in the outfield, he could be a great outfielder. If you had to put him at second base, if you had to put him behind the plate in a pinch, you can do that. I know.
Or put him on the mound.
Put him on the mound. Yeah, he has a cannon. And I'm sure Coach Mack will talk a little bit about how he can impact our team on the mound. But Dom is just a no-nonsense kid. Loves playing baseball, has great energy, is a great communicator on the field, is always thinking the game. He's in the dugout, he's always talking about things that he might pick up with the pitcher. You see him on the field, he's always talking to the infielders. All right, here's what they potentially could do right here. So that's a really nice, piece, a nice presence to have. And then in the batter's box, you're talking about a career, 315, 320 hitter at the Division I level. So there's a lot of maturity that he's going to add to our lineup. And he's a jack of all trades too. Like when it comes to offense, yeah, he can hit a ball over a guy's head, but he can also lay down a bunt. He can also, if you tell him, hey Dom, this guy's having his way with us, we need to see a few pitches right here. He can get into a long count, and he can be very competitive to slow the game down. There's a lot of different things he can do, and he's going to be a really important piece to our offense and defense. You mentioned Luke Broadhurst. Luke is a guy that, when he came to us as a freshman, man, he's very talented. He can run. He's powerful. He always has shown a knack for his ability to hit and barrel up balls. And his arm strength looks great right now. And Luke is having a really nice winter. I think he leads the winter with home runs. He's just a power threat at the plate. And if he's not hitting home runs or hitting doubles, he's a pain to pitch to. I mean, he's very disciplined. You throw a ball off the plate, he's not going to go after it unless the umpire is going to. All right, so if he goes 0 for 4 on a day, you're going to have to work for that. I mean, you're throwing 7, 8 pitches against this guy a lot of times, and he's going to add a nice maturity to our lineup. He had an unbelievable career at Eastern. You know, won a national championship. Was an awesome player for them, and you know, hit for average, hit for power. You know, like I said, has that arm strength at third. If we need him at third base, he can play it really well because he's got great range. He can help us out at first base. So we have a lot of different options with Luke. And then another guy, probably a veteran guy, Chris Brown. You know, and that's the thing. Like, Chris Brown has had a lot of success for us as well. You know, so you're talking about 3 guys that have success at the Division I or the college level. You know, so there's a lot of maturity over there at third base. And I think we're in a really nice place with those guys.
All right, let's talk some newcomers. You've got Paul Tamara, who's one of the other transfers that you have, and then some freshmen, Maddox Delana, you have Ryan Daniels, Noah Sorensen, and Ryan Giuliano.
Yeah, well, again, it's fun. You know, every year we have a lot of, you know, veteran pieces that are back, but it's always nice to see those new guys that are going to infuse a little more energy, create a little bit more competition for the older guys to take another step in their game. Paul, we'll start off with Paul. Paul is another one of those veterans, a guy that played in the college level. He's an outstanding infielder. I mean, you know, under control, you know, has good range. The thing that I've noticed with Paul is, you know, when he gets to that ball, it's going to be an accurate throw, you know, and it's a quick release. There's just a lot of composure to how he plays the game, and he's got a lot of speed. Offensively, I think he's getting comfortable right now. He finished the winter time with a lot of hard contact. He's great at the bunt game as well. And if he gets on the bases, he's savvy. He had an outstanding dirt ball read this weekend. So he's going to give us that speed element as well. And not only can he play shortstop, I think he could play any of those positions. You know, if we needed him to play second base, third base, he's very talented, and he's going to be a nice piece for us. The true freshman, you have Ryan Daniels, who's a very talented kid, had a very successful career in Connecticut high school baseball. And we've been very pleased with Ryan. You know, he's fast, he's athletic, he's very coachable in the infield. He's a guy that we've been bouncing around from second base, shortstop, third base, similar to Paul. Very talented, where you can move him around. He's a student of the game. I think he really just enjoys playing. And again, that's probably the toughest thing. Guys that play shortstop, guys that play infield, there's a lot of demands at this level, and Ryan's starting to pick that up. Offensively, he's a weapon, and I think he's going to be a really good player for us, especially down the road. But right now, you know, he's a left-handed stick that has power, that is not afraid to lay down a bunt. I was really excited to see that over the weekend. You know, he's been struggling a little bit with the stick. We have some pretty good arms on this staff, and he just found a way to get on base. You know, I think the more comfort he gets in the batter's box, he's a very explosive player. And then he can, with that speed, he can steal a bag, he can get the dirt ball read, he can go first to third. And again, we can't stress that enough. That's how you keep offense going. That's how you put runs on the board. So we're very excited about him. Ryan Giuliano, another freshman right there. Again, another type of guy that's super athletic. I mean, second, short, third. There's times where I throw him in the outfield. He's a right-handed stick, and it seemed like he started to get comfortable. You know, towards the end of the winter, he had some really good at bats.
Seems stronger too, the weight room.
Absolutely. You know, and that's the thing for the freshmen. They get a full almost a full year now of strength and conditioning when they come in from the summer to the winter, or to the fall and the winter, and you start to see those bodies develop a little bit more. And Ryan's done a really nice job, and he's a guy, again, that we can kind of move all over the place. What other guys do we have?
We got Maddox and we got Noah.
That's right. We'll go with Noah. Noah's another middle infield type guy, shortstop. But again, we could probably play him anywhere in that infield. Noah's a really competitive kid, and he's smart out there for a freshman. I think he's, kind of ahead of where you would think a freshman would be in terms of knowing what to do. But he's very confident in his ability. And offensively for him, with that added strength, I think the ball's going to come off the bat a little bit better. He's very competitive in the box. He works walks. He'll get hit by pitches. And there's times right now you start that swing starting to come along. He's going to produce a lot of line drives. And he's just another competitive kid that's going to push those other guys. And he's just a great guy to coach. Maddox was, over there with Ben Huber, and Maddox really provided some excitement in the fall. I think he hit 400 for us. Really hard to do as a freshman. Mm-hmm. And he showed power to all fields, a nice left-handed stick. I think he hit a couple home runs to the opposite field, pull side pop. But then again, if you hit 400, you gotta be able to cut things down, and he shows that maturity. So he's going to be a guy right in the mix to get at bats for us. Whether it's giving Ben a break at first base at times, whether it's DH, or whether it's pinch hitting, Maddox is going to be right in the mix because that's a mature type of bat for a young guy. So.
All right, let's shift to the outfield. Two primetime players coming back, Corey Morton and TC Simmons. What have you seen in terms of those guys as they went throughout last year and now as they come back getting ready for another year here in 2023?
Yeah, I mean, those two guys, it helps us as a coaching staff when you have veterans that love to work, you have veterans that have been in championship games, have played at a high level, and then it just helps us with all these young guys that we talk about, or the new guys, and they just see how we do things as a program, and that's what TC and Corey do. From an outfield standpoint, my outfielders that come in, they just see how they go about their work, whether it's the long toss, whether it's our short drills, whether it's going after fly balls, the attention, the detail that you need to become a great outfielder. Those guys are doing all the right things. We'll start with TC. TC is an excellent center fielder, excellent outfielder in general. Just gets great reads, just understands how to play the game out there. Had some phenomenal catches. I mean, it changes the momentum of a game. Yeah. When your pitcher maybe makes a mistake and a guy puts one in the gap, and now we run that down. That's deflating for the opposition. And TC provided a lot of those plays last year. And then offensively, I mean, his season in the beginning, he was hot. The middle ground, he struggled a little bit, but he always gave you great at-bats. I think he had more walks than strikeouts, high on-base percentage. He gets hit by pitches, and then towards the end of the year, that swing comes back, that groove comes back. He feels really good. He's using the whole field. That guy last year, we batted him down towards the bottom of the order towards the end of the year. And that's like having a 3-hitter in your 8 or 9 hole at times. Yep. We're going to ask a little more of him this year in terms of being the top of the order or middle of the order. I mean, he's so versatile in what he can do. But he's an awesome player. He can lay down a bunt if you need a bunt. He can work in a bat. He can also jump an fastball and put it into put it over a wall. So really excited to have him back. Expecting big things from him. Corey. One of the hardest workers that we've had. I mean, you talk about a guy that freshman year has the tools in terms of the speed, the power, the arm, but just really needed to work at it and get the consistency with the bat. And last year, he showed you what he's capable of. I mean, he hit over 400, and he could beat the defense in so many different ways. I mean, he can lay down a bunt and beat it out, or he can put one over your head. I mean, he's a very explosive player, and it's just really, really exciting to see what he can do at the plate. He's worked really hard, had a really nice summer, had a great fall, and this winter time, he's just added that discipline aspect to the plate. He's working walks. He's given himself another chance to get on base where he can change the game. It just puts pressure on the defense. You know, he has world-class speed like David Smith, and you got two runners like that. I don't care who you are. It's going to put a lot of pressure on the defense, and Corey looks great. And then defensively, he's worked really hard his game. I mean, it's like we have two center fielders right there. Mm-hmm. You got TC, you got Corey, and they're both guys that can go get it. You know, not many balls are going to drop. And then Corey has the big, strong arm. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's a strong, accurate arm, and it's just fun watching those guys out there. And I'm expecting, you know, big things from Corey as well.
Alongside those guys, with the newcomers, you have a D3 Player of the Year, Jake Studley, and then three talented freshmen, Nico Brini, Drew Crone, and Gavin Greger. Let's start with Jake.
Yeah, listen, I mean, like most of our guys, you know, they're here to work, they're here to get better, and I think that's what I expect of my players, but Jake literally is a no-nonsense guy. Mm-hmm. He's here to compete, and he's here to get better at his craft, and you know, like most new guys that come in, the fall is an adjustment period. He showed you a lot of flashes of good things, and then this winter time, you know, he got really comfortable, and I think he ended up hitting, you know, one of our top 3 or 4 guys in terms of batting average and QABs this winter time. Line drive hitter, you know, line drive hitter with some power. He just plays the game so hard, you know. Again, you talk about a guy that's played at the collegiate level, has had success at the collegiate level, was an all-star in the NECBL. Mm-hmm. You know, this is a guy that I have a lot of comfort in because he's been there before, you know. And from an outfield standpoint, he has a good arm. You know, he's got good speed out there. And, you know, here's a guy, again, that potentially could be a center fielder, all right? Mm-hmm. Not many balls are going to drop with if those 3 guys are out there or the freshmen that I'm going to talk about. Yeah. So we have a lot of good options, and you know, I like what Jake has brought to the table. Nico Brini had a great fall as a freshman. He's not a loud kid, but his game is loud. I mean, it's like you don't expect it from him, but all of a sudden, you know, if you underestimate him, you throw a fastball right there, he's going to put it over someone's head. You know, and he's also going to compete and fight off pitches. And then in the outfield, I mean, he's already made 3 or 4 unbelievable diving catches out there. You know, so he's a guy that's going to be right in the mix to give us defense and give us some great offense as well. We really like what he's been able to do, and he's right in the mix to help us out. Drew Crone is another freshman it's just fun to watch the way he plays the outfield. Mm-hmm. You know, he reminds me of Corey a little bit in terms of body type, that wiry, strong guy that will continue to get stronger and continue to get faster, but he plays with no fear in the outfield. I mean, I think he literally did run into a wall in the wintertime. Yeah. You know, that's not always a good thing, maybe lack of communication, but that's the type of intensity he's going to play with. He thinks he can catch everything. And when you have that mentality, we're going to be fine. And Drew brings that to the table. His bat shows flashes of being really good, but he'll have some of those freshman at bats where the approach isn't there consistently yet. But he works really hard at it, and you know, he's going to be ready to go. And then Gavin Greger is another one of those freshmen that works tremendously hard. Left-handed hitter, gives you good tough at-bats, learning to kind of move the ball around the field, a good fast athlete that plays the outfield, that has a good arm, that's also a two-way guy that can get off the bump and you know, can spin a breaking ball for a strike. So he gives us a lot of options as well, and I've been very pleased with the way those guys have been competing and working at their game.
The last thing I'm going to ask you, I know you take pride in your offenses, being able to beat an opponent in a variety of ways. Last year, obviously, most doubles in program history. We tied the home run record. But speed, I feel like, is something, another way that this team could probably beat you. Outside of, we love Garbo, but outside of maybe Garbo, everyone seems to have speed in the potential lineup. Is that how you see it? It seems like, just watching the fall and the winter, you can use your speed, you can use your power, and then you just work long at bats, deep counts, wear down pitchers, get into bullpens.
Yeah, listen, I mean, every year we go into this, you look at your personnel and you're gonna devise the best plan of attack, like what suits our team the best. Ultimately, I know if we're gonna get to where we wanna go, we need the balance. And Coach McDonald, Coach Penders, we've really identified, the type of players that can give you that most balanced lineup. And again, Coach Mack is always talking to me of how we want to attack out there, the players that we look at, and he's done a great job of bringing in some really dynamic players, but players that are willing to play offense. Because we know, you're going to face a guy that's going to neutralize what you're doing, and you have to find ways. We are not stubborn in this offense in the sense that, well, we're going to hit doubles or we're going to hit home runs. Well, sometimes the pitcher is going to have your number, and you have a responsibility to figure out how to beat them. And we faced the ACC Pitcher of the Year in Rhett Lauder. And our game plan going into it was we got to do whatever's possible. He throws hard, he throws sinkers, he's around the zone, whether it's hit and run, whether it's bump for hits, whether it's us stealing bags, we're going to do that. And then maybe we get a mistake, and then maybe someone finds a gap. Okay, we take a lot of pride in that, and this offense, it can really do that. I feel like we have a bunch of guys that can be 3-hitters at the college level. All right, but they also know that they want to win baseball games, and whatever role they're in, they're willing to do whatever it takes. It's if I have to get a bunt down, if I have to steal a bag, we're going to do that. And I think that's a good place to be in, and I think this offense is ready to continue to do that.
Great stuff as always. Thanks, Jeff.
All right, thanks, Jonesy.